It is the basketball show for the basketball fan. Welcome to another edition of Open Gym right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Preseason in full swing across the association. We'll be talking to a couple guys from a couple teams who are looking to make their presence felt within the Eastern Conference, that being the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before we get to those two teams, just want to talk about a few players, in my opinion, that I'm excited to watch this season. These aren't going to be superstar type of athletes, superstar type guys on their teams, but I do think they're going to have big years for the squads in which they play for, and it's going to pay major dividends to those teams. Maybe not overall in wins or team success, but it should make you excited about their future within the NBA. The first guy, however, I do believe he is going to pay a huge dividend to his team that is looking to make the NBA Finals, and that's Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you look at this team, the hype train is real. They have an MVP candidate in SGA. They also have a head coach who won Coach of the Year this past season, and you also have a foundation as well as complementary pieces surrounding your MVP that made you the number one team in the Western Conference last year. However, with every great number one, you also need a number two to complement your superstar, and Jalen Williams is definitely looking to be that guy. Has had a great first 2 years in the association for this Thunder squad, and if you look at it just by the analytics or even his numbers just flat out, this guy's going to be a star sooner rather than later, and it seems like this guy, he could be in the conversation this season of being an NBA All-Star. I understand that at his position, you have quite a few guys that he would have to beat at his position in order to make the All-Star group. But I think he's going to be teetering on that fence of whether he should or shouldn't be an All-Star. Was the team's second leading scorer last year, and is definitely a guy that's improved year after year and is looking to do more of the same this season. Jalen Williams is definitely going to be a guy that I am excited to watch this season, especially for a team who has championship aspirations. The second guy, Jett Howard of the Orlando Magic. It was very interesting to see what Orlando did this offseason. I mean, they allocated a lot of their money to their foundational pieces and their star guys. But when you looked into the offseason and what they could have done, you were thinking that maybe they were going to sign just a few shooters that they didn't have this past season when they lost in their first round series matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers, because there were just guys in that series that weren't able to knock down their shots. You have guys who are capable of knocking down the long ball, but you really want to have that guy that you can rely on and depend on in most cases to knock down the perimeter shot. And Jett Howard seems to be the guy in which they believe in. When you look at guys like Anthony Parker, you also look at guys like Waltman, they believe that the guys in which they have now that they've been developing are going to be able to step into the spots and steps into the places in which they felt that they were weak at. One of them being three-point shooting. The problem with this is going to be, however, how does Jett Howard get on the floor? He had a great preseason matchup against the San Antonio Spurs not too long ago. Had 19 points, I believe knocked down 3 out of his 7 three-point attempts against Wemby and the Spurs. But this is a very deep team in which Jamal Mosley has in the Orlando Magic. So the problem's going to be for him, how does he see the floor? But if he is going to shoot at the clip he's shooting right now, at least from what he's done in Summer League through the preseason, by the time we do get to this season, I do think that he needs to see the floor for guys like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to be able to kick the ball out to him and knock down that perimeter shot. You also have KCP, who's a reliable three-point shooter now. Gary Harris, known a lot for his 3-and-D capability, also can be a sharpshooter at times. Wendell Carter, a capable guy to be able to stretch the floor, be that stretch five. But if you're looking for more of a consistent three-point shooter, look for Jett Howard this season to probably make a case as one of the more improved players overall in his personal game this season. The final guy comes from the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's Max Christie. He really didn't get a lot of love from Darvin Ham this past season in terms of minutes, but it seems that J.J. Redick believes in this guy, and from a few preseason games in which we've watched, and even if you look around Lakers Twitter or certain NBA circles, it seems that Max Christie has made improvements from this past season now going into this season. I mean, including Austin Reeves saying, I think this guy is probably going to be one of the more improved guys on our team. Being a 3-and-D guy seems to be something that J.J. Redick is pounding the table on in order for guys to really get on the floor and see valuable minutes for him this season. And it definitely seems to me that Max Christie has worked on his three-point shot. It seems like he's able to knock it down at a more consistent clip. It also seems that he wants to be a guy that's going to guard other guards coming from the inbound, going to guard them all 94 feet, take time off the clock. Now, how many minutes he gets, it's still to be determined because you still have guys like Jared Vanderbilt who's out right now still dealing with injury. Christian Wood also dealing with an injury. By the time those guys come back, you would like to believe that those guys are going to see minutes on the floor for the Lakers. But as it is right now, I do look at Max Christie. He's not going to be with the starting group. J.J. Redick's already said the starting group's going to consist of D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. But could you make an argument that this is going to be one of maybe 2 or 3 guys to be the first to come off the bench for the LA Lakers this season? I don't take it out of the realm of possibility. That's going to be a guy for me that I am excited to watch to see his development and how he's able to help a team in a big spot. The Lakers truly believe in him as well as they gave him that extension and he wanted to stay in LA. Now, does it affect to winning? That is going to be something in which we're going to have to see. There are plenty of other players that I'm excited to see that are going to be almost unsung heroes for their team. They're not going to be the superstar. You're not going to see them in a signature that a certain team has, but they're definitely going to be needed in big spots. I mean, you look at guys like Deuce McBride, for example. You're also going to be looking at guys such as Evan Mobley, who he's also a borderline all-star. Going to not really be an unsung hero for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but if they're looking to have the same success moving forward this season as they had last year, going to the second round before losing to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference playoffs, also look for a guy such as Evan Mobley to take that next step, a guy that we've really been waiting for to take that next step as well. But those are just a few of my guys who I'm excited to see this upcoming season who aren't superstar guys. I would love to hear yours. But as we continue going with this show, going to talk about the New York Knicks. They were a fan favorite throughout the NBA, probably a league pass team for a couple of guys. Now they're making a couple of moves in which they got Mikell Bridges as well as Karl Anthony Towns. Could this be the season? Could this be the team to take out the Boston Celtics and probably be the team to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals this season? Brian Mahoney will talk all about that with us and more right here on Open Gym. Following a fantastic year for the New York Knicks, they're looking to make an even deeper run this season. Could they possibly be the team to take out the reigning champion Boston Celtics and represent the East in the NBA Finals? For that, we go to Brian Mahoney. He covers the Knicks as well as the Nets, even USA Basketball for the Associated Press. Make sure to follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Mr. Mahoney, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Absolutely doing well. And before we get into the Knicks this season, just wanted to ask you about this past year. I mean, the city of New York was on fire about the team. This has really been the most excited I've seen the city about a New York Knicks squad in quite some time. What made it work last season for the Knicks, in your opinion?
Well, you know, they got a great one in Jalen Brunson, who I think has been better than the Knicks themselves, any Knicks fan could have imagined he would be. And the pieces around just worked last year, and it was just a likable team. They were good. Obviously, it helps when you're good, but, you know, they played super hard. They played a style that the New York fans liked that reminded them of the 1990s Knicks. So it was a real enjoyable team to watch, and a great, great season.
Absolutely. And as a guy who covers the Knicks and covers the Nets, I've heard this before, and it seems to have reigned true yet again. You know, during free agency, during the NBA offseason, there always seems to be a player who you don't think is going to be made available that's always made available in the 11th hour. And it seemed to me that, you know, the New York Knicks were able to do that twice, once with Mikell Bridges and once with Karl Anthony Towns. But beginning with Mikell Bridges, it seemed to me that the Nets were saying, no, we want to build around this guy. We think he's going to be one of the pieces for the future. Now he ends up with the Knicks. Just with you covering both of those teams, how did this come about where Mikell Bridges is now donning the orange and blue?
Yeah, it was a surprise to everybody. You don't trade a guy like Kevin Durant and then trade the guy you got for him the next year.
Right.
You hope that guy's going to be with you for a while. And certainly the way Mikell Bridges played in that first half year in Brooklyn, he looked like he'd be their superstar for many years to come. But last year things didn't work out. The Nets realized they kind of had to, start a rebuilding process, and the Knicks made them a fantastic offer. I think they sent them 4 first-round picks in that trade, so kind of thing you got to get done. But those teams don't trade with each other. It was, I think, 1980s was the last time. So the Knicks had, they wanted a player like that to build around on their wings, and made a great offer. And then same thing with Towns, another guy who you were not expecting to be available. You had to give up a lot to get him in Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. But, the bottom line is they think now this is a team that can really compete with Boston.
Do you believe that they do have enough to take down the Celtics, as you've seen them now through a couple of preseason games? I know you're not seeing everything in the bag of Thibs yet, but just on paper, do you believe that this New York team has enough to take down those evil Empire guys in Beantown?
I think they can compete with them. Can they beat them? I'm not sure yet. I think the Knicks are probably maybe one good bench player away. I think their starting 5 they feel as good as anybody, can match up with anyone. And maybe it is, but maybe, and obviously Tom Thibodeau doesn't play really super deep anyway, but if they can get one more decent big man off the bench, then I think they would sort of like their chances. They obviously lost one in Isaiah Hartenstein. Right. If they can replace that, then I think they would feel like they can swing with anyone.
Brian Mahoney, our guest, NBA writer for the Associated Press. Make sure to follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Now, one of the guys that I do love off of the bench, I'm searching for this guy's jersey because I want it just that bad, is going to be Deuce McBride. He seems to be a fan favorite there at the Garden when they play in New York. How important is he going to be to this Knicks run this season, in your opinion?
Well, I think that's part of the reason they feel like they could, trade a guy like DiVincenzo, because they feel like whatever role they give Deuce, he can handle it. And, look, I was a little wrong on him too. I thought, okay, when they drafted him, when they got him here, he's a hard-nosed guy. He'll come out and play defense. Maybe you'll put him in, late in the game when you got to get a stop, but he's never going to be a real serious contributor. I didn't think his offensive game was good enough. But his shot has gotten so much better. They feel he can run the team. He played very well last year when there were injuries. So, he's going to step into, a much more important role than even last year. And they feel like he can handle whatever they give him.
How important is, in your opinion, the health of OG Anunoby going to be to this Knicks roster as well? I mean, when he was in the lineup, the Knicks were dang near unbeatable, not just within the Eastern Conference, but within the entire NBA. And you could see just how the team was able to play and the energy they had when he was on the floor versus him being off. Just talk about just OG Anunoby being able to retain him as the Knicks organization and what he's going to mean to the team moving forward.
Well, you're so right, and I forget the exact number with their record when he was, when he played last year, but it was something like 25-4. It was it was an incredible win-loss record, and obviously, when he got hurt in the playoffs, they were up 2-0 on Indiana when he went down, and I think the Knicks would win that series had he stayed out there. So when he's on the floor, he doesn't need the ball a lot. He defends great. Helps them spacing with his outside shooting. So just on both sides of the floor, he's so important. And, again, you don't find guys who defend the way he does. They feel like they have 2 of them now in him and Bridges. And that's what you're going to need against, again, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Absolutely. Final couple of moments with Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press, covers the Knicks and Nets as well as USA Basketball. I know this is probably a crazy thing to ask with Jalen Brunson, knowing, how much he's done for the New York Knicks. But is there anything that you want to see from him specifically going into this year as the leader of the New York Knicks?
I don't really know what more you could ask. He's his leadership style has been perfect for them. They made him the team captain this summer. I don't think anyone thought he was going to be a 25-point per game scorer. Again, before he got hurt, maybe they win that series anyway last year. So, I'm sure he talks about, he keeps improving. Tom Thibodeau talks about the way the guy's always in the gym. I'm sure he'll come back and add something that will help the team. I just don't know what it could be more than he's already doing.
Absolutely. And final one for you before we let you go. I mean, you touched upon Karl Anthony Towns and the possible impact that he's going to make this season. I understand for a few people they thought it was a head scratcher. Maybe this trade would have been available to the Knicks before the trading deadline. But how do you like the fit of Karl Anthony Towns on this New York Knicks team?
Well, obviously they needed a center. Mitchell Robinson is going to be out for the first, couple months. Obviously we talked about they lost Hartenstein. So, they had to go get a center somewhere. It's hard to find one much better for the way they want to play than a guy like Towns, who can play inside or outside, great three-point shooter. So I understand the desire to go out and get him, but again, they give up a lot. Julius Randle, I think people sometimes underestimate how good of a player he is. You're talking about a 20-10 and 5 guy.
Right.
There aren't many of those. So, I think it's a trade that both teams gave up a lot to get a lot. And, these are two teams who feel like they're in that title contention, and you got to do that sometimes. So you feel like you're one player away. And for the Knicks, maybe that player is Towns.
Sorry for lying. That was the last one. This will actually be the last one bringing up
No
Julius
problem.
Randle. Do you think the Knicks could have made it work with Randle? He was an all-star for the team not that long ago. I understand that sometimes he does, take up a lot of space and what he's able to do when he's on the floor. I just, found it interesting. It seemed he loved to be in New York. Do you think the Knicks could have made it work out with him if they would have kept him?
Yeah, that's kind of the million-dollar question, and for sure, because when they were healthy in January last year after the guy in Anunoby, before Randall got hurt, they were crushing teams.
Yes.
So I think if you said, let's bring that team back, I think they feel like they could have won with that team. But again, they don't have a center going into this season. And, you just kind of said, all right, we have to go find one, and it cost them Randall. I think they could have done it, but I think they felt like they just didn't have a choice, and this was a move they had to make.
Absolutely. He is Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press, their NBA writer covering the Knicks, the Nets, and USA basketball. Make sure to follow him on X at Brian C. Mahoney. Mr. Mahoney, thank you so much for a couple moments of your time. Hopefully we can do this again down the road when the New York Knicks are in the playoffs and beyond.
Sounds good to me. Thanks very much.
A wealth of NBA knowledge is joining us on the program. I mean, this is absolute NBA royalty as far as I am concerned. Over 2,500 games broadcasted in his career, and he is giving us just a couple minutes of his time to break down all things Cavs. He is Mike Snyder. He has been the steady voice of the Cavs radio network since the 92-93 season. Had a great interview and a great conversation with him the last time that he came on the program with us, and we're looking for more of the same and are in for an absolute treat. Make sure to follow him on X at Snyder1100. Once again, Mr. Snyder, I am absolutely humbled that you are giving us a couple moments of your time here, sir. How are you?
Oh, RJ, good to be with you. I'm doing well. We got exciting things happening in Cleveland right now with the Guardians and the playoffs, and I really think that we'll say we won't talk football, but the Cavs I think are pretty excited too about what they might be able to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I wanted to throw this out to you just to begin our conversation. A couple of GMs did a survey this season talking about which players they believe are going to have a breakout season this year, and Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder came in at number 1, but right behind him was Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers, thinking that he'll have a huge breakout year this year. I mean, he was an absolute terror in the playoff series against the Orlando Magic the last time that we talked. What do you think is going to go into Evan Mobley having a great year for the Cavs this season?
Well, they really want to unlock more of what his ability would allow him to do offensively. And I think that's one of the reasons Kenny Atkinson is here now trying to find the answers to that. What we saw in the first preseason game in the first half, RJ, was pretty impressive. Yes. I mean, Mobley's stronger. I mean, just naturally his growth. I mean, his gliding down the floor. I think that, part of it's on Evan, too, to be more aggressive, but they want to find ways to get him the ball. His teammates seem to be embracing that. They realize that, this guy can do a lot of things. He's got great athleticism. He's worked tirelessly on his shot all off season. I don't know that he's going to be a 3-point bomber. They would like him to have that, at least that threat. So we'll see how that plays out going forward. But they are very excited about him. And I really think, RJ, if you look at the Cavs and what they want to do, and if they believe they can be a championship contender, well, then they really need Evan Mobley to really take that next step and maybe be that breakout player of the year.
Absolutely. And one of the big breakout news stories of the offseason was Donovan Mitchell electing to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers past this season. And I mean, you know, again, we saw it during the series against the Orlando Magic, essentially beating that team on one leg before, you know, being ousted in the second round by the Boston Celtics. But he was such an incredible talent to watch as he was going back and forth with Paolo Banchero and that Magic squad. But what were your thoughts when Donovan Mitchell announced that he wanted to stay with the wine and gold?
Well, I was always hopeful, and I really think most of the indicators I got from him, or at least that I perceived from him even throughout the year, was that he likes it here in Cleveland. I think and then he revealed that he actually had made up his mind during the season last year that this is really where he wanted to stay, and he was going to sign that extension. So until, you know, as we've seen in sports, until you really get pen on paper, though, you know, anything can happen.
Right.
So that was a good moment, and that was probably when they went into the off season this year. The biggest thing that they needed to get done was to have him sign that extension, and then everything else would fall into place in terms of at least the moves they want to make for now. And he's committed here. He says he likes it here. I think that he wants to establish some roots here. Really, RJ, when you think about it, this is like his team now, all right?
Yeah.
This is his team. He's the leader, and the NBA, you know, player leadership is huge. So this is his group, and he believes, I mean, he got a huge contract, but he believes also that there's the ingredients here to achieve the ultimate, and that is, of course, to win a championship.
Mike Snyder, our guest, he is a part of the Cavaliers radio network, has been so since the 92-93 season. Make sure to follow him on X at Snyder1100. You can't talk about Donovan Mitchell without talking about his running mate in the backcourt, that being Darius Garland. And I mean, my goodness, what a talent he's been since entering the league. What would you like to see out of the young guard now going into year 6 for this Cavalier team?
A healthy year, RJ. And I'm not trying to be simplistic with that, but a healthy year. Last year, you know, he suffered that broken jaw in December. I mean, he really kind of lost some strength, and he struggled some last year. Really, one of the stories with his team will be meshing Garland and Mitchell together. Darius, though, he's only 24. He's the longest tenured member of this Cavs team right now. Think about that.
Yeah.
The longest tenured member. So, you know, he's still a young player. And I just think that if he can stay healthy, I think he embraces it. There were stories that after Mitchell signed that he was, you know, through his agent, you know, was looking maybe to go elsewhere because he'd never be the guy. Darius really has denied that. And the thing is that, you know, I think he's happy here. But it's got to, you know, this team right now, we can't fast forward to the postseason, can we? No. So you've got to build something, and you're hoping now, and even their team president, Kobe Altman, has said, what can they do to make sure when we get to the spring that this group is healthy and you know, not killing themselves for a better record, but they you know, they're where they are kind of ramping up again for the postseason. That's one of the things. So that's where Kenny Atkinson is going to have to monitor minutes. But I think for Darius, if he can stay healthy and work with Donovan and some of the things they're doing now, more the up-tempo game, I think that there are some great things. Because as you put it, he is an extremely talented player, and he and Donovan are very get along very well off the floor. They really are. And I think the thing is now, can this all work together on the floor? That is one of the questions for this Cavs team to see if they can go beyond what they've done the last couple of years in terms of wins in the regular season and then rounds, which is more important, in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Speaking now just of the new head coach and Kenny Atkinson, I mean, I understand you lose J.B. Bickerstaff. I liked him. He led the team to a second-round playoff series against the Boston Celtics, but he's now in Detroit. You get Kenny Atkinson, who, in my opinion, does a great job with young teams. We saw what he was able to do in Brooklyn. He's been around a championship team and a championship-winning head coach in Steve Kerr. Now is back in the head coaching ranks and now coaching this young Cleveland Cavaliers team. Just your thoughts on what Kenny Atkinson can bring to the table for the Cavs.
Well, when they decided to part ways with JB, who I think really did a very solid job. He's built a foundation here, and it's a tough business.
Yes.
They all get paid pretty well, but it's a tough business, and I think that he did a lot here when I think of what he inherited. But when they made that decision, and I said, okay, you're going to bring someone new. One of the first names I thought about was Atkinson. His name was out there. What I liked about him, RJ, was I recall his teams when he was the head coach with the Nets. And he didn't have all that much talent, but I really thought his teams were just tough to play against. And they had a lot of motion. And I think that he's going to bring that or try to bring that to this group here. That's what he wants to do. He really, I think the plan is to go 9 to 10 deep regular season, so you're not burning guys out, but also a lot of up-tempo stuff. Now, we'll see. It's one thing to say it in October.
Right.
It's another to see it in the middle of the season, and then another once we get to the postseason. But I think that when you look at the Cavs, the roster basically is what you saw last year at the end of last season, so the big change is in the coach. And they obviously believe, the Cavs front office believes that a different voice and what Atkinson intends to do with some of the players to make it fit, they feel that this will work. And that's going to be the storyline to watch this season.
Absolutely. Mike Snyder, our guest. He is the voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers on their radio network. Make sure to follow him on X at Snyder1100. Final couple of moments with you before we let you go here. I understand that the Eastern Conference has gotten better with teams like New York making the moves that they made, the Philadelphia 76ers as well. The reigning champions are in the Eastern Conference and the Boston Celtics. However, it still feels to me that this Cleveland Cavalier team is definitely going to be a team to be reckoned with within the Eastern Conference, and a surefire team that's going to be able to make the playoffs and be able to, bypass that whole play-in tournament and everything like that. Am I wrong kind of in that assessment that, hey, even though these teams have made, significant moves to their roster, don't sleep on the Cavs just yet?
Well, I let them sleep on them because the Cavs are good. They are good. They are talented, as you point out, but you also point out the other teams at the top. You got the defending champs. The Knicks certainly have gone out. What a move they made, and they got Cat now, and they've got Bridges. Yeah. My goodness, they're starting 5. Right. I mean, that's as tough a group. And then I think with Philly, you look at them, and, okay, you had Paul George, but the big question mark, as it is every year, is the health of Embiid. Absolutely. Where will he be? If he's healthy, RJ, I mean, they go a whole another level or two, I think, higher than people project. But we know the grind of the season. Who knows what's going to happen? And that's the thing. He's not been able to do that. So those, I think, are the teams, probably the top 3 you look at. I think the Cavs are right there, though, and they've got to show it now on the floor, and I think they believe they can compete with those teams. But look, you look at Milwaukee. I think they're looking to a bounce-back year.
Absolutely.
With Giannis. Orlando, your neighbors there in Florida. I mean, they gave the Cavs everything they wanted and more in that first series, and with Banchero growing, my gosh, they are very good. I think the Indiana Pacers, I mean, look what they did last year. Yeah. And I haven't even mentioned Miami yet. So it is going to be a real battle, and to just stay in that top 6, it's going to take, a pretty serious win total. And I think to get into that top 4, that's where I think the Cavs definitely want to be. They're going to have to win some games. These games, in October, November, that you kind of say, it's a long season. Well, those are games you're going to definitely, the ones you should get, you better put them in the win column this year. And then once we get to the postseason, that's where names are made. That's where you'll find out, who you really are. But you can't fast forward it. And I really would like to see the Cavs have good health this year, you build some continuity and confidence in one another. A team like Boston, they had most of their guys together. They've been through it. They know each other. They've been through it. And I think the Cavs have been through now a couple of playoff trials, but they were hurt. You pointed that out. Mitchell gets hurt in the second round. Jared Allen didn't play.
Right.
So I think I'd like to just see this group with good health. You're going to have some nicks along the way, but nicks and bumps and bruises, and New York Knicks to deal with, I should say. But if they could do that, I really feel that they've really there is no ceiling for what I think they're capable of.
And I'm definitely excited to hear the call for it all with you on the Cavs radio network. Just final one before we let you go. I mean, over 2,500 games called in your illustrious career since the 92-93 season. Just how excited are you to be able to do yet another year of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball in your great career?
Well, I am. I don't take it for granted, RJ. I've been blessed to be able to cover sports, to be to work. Well, radio now, I guess, where it's all audio now, right? Depending on what people may be listening to us on, we point out it may be with something else. Maybe it's Alexa, whatever it might be.
Right.
But I've been very blessed, and I think you can hear it in my voice. I am excited about this team, and I think there's some good folks that I know in this organization, and I hope that they can have that success that they're striving for. And I think there's a lot of many reasons to be excited about this team and get this thing started.
Absolutely. And if you are going to listen to Cleveland Cavalier basketball this season, look no further than the voice of Mike Snyder. He is the voice for the Cleveland Cavaliers radio network, has been so since the 92-93 season. Make sure to follow him on X at Snyder1100. And Mike Snyder, once again, so gracious with his time to give us to take a deep dive into the Cleveland Cavaliers this season. Mike, thank you once again, and hopefully we can do this around playoff time like we did last year.
Sounds like a plan, RJ. Stay well.
Before we wrap things up here on Open Gym, just an interesting article that was made out by Sean Powell of NBA.com asking the question this season, is the sun beginning to set in the era of LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant? And it's always hard when we see our superstars leaving the league, right? It seemed rather hard when Michael Jordan left the league. However, he did say during that 2003 NBA All-Star game in Atlanta that he felt he was leaving the game in good hands. And you saw that through the superstars that we had at that time, be it Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, etc. When Kobe left the game, we saw that LeBron James was going to take that mantle, although he had played with Kobe for quite a bit when he got into the league in 2004. We also saw Stephen Curry, Russell Westbrook, as well as Kevin Durant. But it seems like we are now beginning to come to the closing of another era with LeBron James, Steph Curry, as well as Kevin Durant. Now, it does seem to me when you saw through their play for Team USA in the gold medal game, even in that qualifying game to get to the gold medal round, you saw Steph Curry have just a throwback performance, in my opinion. It does seem to me that these guys don't feel that they're at the finish line quite yet. However, one of the big questions is going to be, is this going to be players? Are these going to be guys that are going to be the focal point for their organizations and the reason why their teams win an NBA championship? I don't think they're anywhere close to being done playing. They're probably still going to be in the mix sometimes to be NBA All-Stars. In fact, let me scratch that. I believe that they will be NBA All-Stars this season. Will they be in the mix in terms of winning NBA MVP yet another time in their careers? I don't know. Also, do you feel like either one of these teams that they're on, be it the Golden State Warriors, Phoenix Suns, or LA Lakers, that these teams are going to make it to the NBA Finals and one of these three guys before their career is said and done will win another NBA championship and be able to put that on their resume? Kind of hard to think about, isn't it? You look at the league now, the league will be left in good hands once these three leave. You have Anthony Edwards, you have Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum. You also have Luka Doncic out there. The league will definitely be in good hands. We do have the stars of tomorrow playing today. But when you do look at LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, it's been a while since we've seen them on the grandest stage. Most recently, it was Steph Curry. After Kevin Durant left, everybody thought that the window was closed for the Golden State Warriors. Enter in year 2022. Steph Curry is able to lead the Golden State Warriors and defeat the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals to catch his illustrious 4th NBA title. Kevin Durant, since he's left the Golden State Warriors, really hasn't had much success in his career in terms of having deep playoff runs, in terms of winning MVP, in terms of making the NBA Finals and becoming an NBA champion yet again. And I understand that there's a lot that goes into that. He does, in my opinion, have the best roster out of the three in which we are talking about right now. However, Bradley Beal, it seems like he wasn't able to go a lot last year because of his injury concerns. Is Kevin Durant going to be able to carry a team for 82 games? Is it enough with just him and Devin Booker at the helm? Should we have more problems like we did last year, seeing Bradley Beal and whether or not he would be able to stay on the floor for as many games as he can? I don't think that you're going to be asking this guy to play over 65 games this year, but you do want him to be healthy. Let's just say he plays 60 games. Maybe the Phoenix Suns are in the mix as a quiet team to make the NBA Finals, but there just seems to be too many teams in such a rough Western Conference. We talked about OKC earlier in the program. You also can't count out the Denver Nuggets, although they have lost a couple of pieces within their roster. You still have an MVP caliber player in Nikola Jokic. You also have Jamal Murray too, that when he gets hot, the whole league has to watch out. Minnesota, are they going to be able to take the next step this year? You do have Anthony Edwards. You now bring in Julius Randle. It's going to be interesting to see how those two pair together. You also have one of the reigning defensive player of the year and probably a guy that's going to be looking to defend that title yet again and win it in Rudy Gobert. This is going to be a tough season for a team like the Phoenix Suns, and it's going to be hard for Kevin Durant, who's getting up there in age now, to be able to say, I'm going to lead a team for 70 or 82 games, plus when you add in the playoffs and say that I'm going to be the reason why we win an NBA title. It's going to be the same thing for the Los Angeles Lakers. I get I'm a Lakers fan. I get that I love the purple and gold. I bleed it. But it does seem that the LA Lakers need to put more around LeBron than just Anthony Davis. I know that you've done a great job with players by committee. Seems that J.J. Redick's going to be a guy that's going to say, listen, we are going to develop our young guys. We're going to make sure that these young guys are ready for the future. We're not just going to give up on them to get a superstar guy to be in a win-now situation. But look, LeBron James doesn't have too many more years left. Are we thinking maybe 1-2 more years after this? Probably plays out the duration of the contract extension that he got from Rob Pelinka and the Lakers organization. And then after that, he's probably going to go off into the sunset. Do we want to see him? Of course we want to see him at least have one more great run towards an NBA title, but it's going to be difficult for a Lakers team that is still looking to get yet another star player, if not a big bruising center, like we continue to hear the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to bring in. And when you look at Steph Curry, doesn't it seem to you that the Golden State Warriors are looking to potentially look towards the future? Even though Steph Curry's still on the roster, he'll retire as a member of the Golden State Warriors. It doesn't seem to me that they're going to bring in a guy that's going to replace Klay Thompson. Buddy Hield, as great as he is, and I love watching Buddy play, that's not a Klay Thompson type of guy. I understand that you have a lot of young guys such as Jonathan Kuminga and others, but that's not going to be enough for the Golden State Warriors to even make the playoffs via the play-in, because there's teams at the bottom of this Western Conference that I feel are going to make much improvements. Let's not sleep on the Houston Rockets. Let's not also sleep on the LA Clippers. And a final team that I do look at to say that they're going to be in the mix for one of those play-in spots is definitely going to be the Sacramento Kings. Those are just a couple of teams that weren't in the play-in last season that I feel are going to be in the mix of making the playoffs via the play-in this year. I understand the Clippers made it last year and didn't have to go to the play-in round, but it seems like they're going to be one of those few teams that are going to find themselves in the mix of that this coming season. That's just going to make it all the more harder for Golden State to make the playoffs just arbitrarily, because they may have to make it via the play-in. But those teams at the bottom are ready to win and ready to win now, or at least get that opportunity to get a taste of playoff basketball. This is not the way that you wanted to see each and every one of these superstar Titans, first ballot Hall of Famers career end, but normally this is what we see from our superstars when they're getting towards the end. Some of them move and go to different teams, like we've seen with Kevin Durant and also like we've seen with LeBron James. These guys have been able to, however, keep their same level of play, even though they have gotten older. I know that they've probably lost a step. They've probably gotten slower in some areas, but they've still been the superstar players that we have loved since each one of them have gotten into the league in their respective years. And it was amazing to see what they did for Team USA in what is proposed to be the last time that we'll see those three don Team USA uniforms and represent our country in the Olympics. But it probably could be the last time that we see any one of these three guys in an NBA Finals or have success down the line this season where they can win another MVP award. But they'll always be in the mix. They'll probably all be in the All-Star game this season. They'll probably be in the All-Star game a couple more times before they call it a career. But it does seem that the sun is beginning to set on one era, and we're going to be able to enjoy the new era that consists of guys like Ja Morant, as well as Luka Doncic, as well as Anthony Edwards, and, of course, Nikola Jokic and others. But it has been amazing to see first-ballot Hall of Famers be able to do what they do best. Unfortunately, it's just not going to end the way that we would like to see it in. But that's going to do it for us here on Open Gym. RJ Saunders here with you. John O'Leary and Thomas making it all happen behind the scenes. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We have a lot going on and a lot of exciting things that we have coming around the bend as the NBA season continues to make its track towards a new year.